All right, so what I'm going to do is explain the rationale behind what I call an intervention constellation approach to designing curricular first-year learning communities for a very diverse, low-income, first-generation student population. I'll present a decade of outcome data that validates that constellation design strategy, and then I'll outline some lessons learned on getting buy-in from different campus stakeholders. So most of our students at UCR come from low-income inland counties. And so the entire campus population is very diverse, but also the science college, which I'm in, is very diverse. So we have math, physical, life, and agricultural sciences all under one roof in our college. So our incoming freshmen are over half first generation, 41% underrepresented minorities, most of those Hispanic, 48% paid Pell Grant, low income, and 56% females. Many of these students come less prepared from low-income school districts. So when they get to UCR, they really need some extra attention and resources to help them become successful in STEM majors. And I think a number of us in this room know that it's mainly math preparation that's the main predictor of whether they're going to be successful or not. So their success is really the key to diversifying the STEM workforce. Without extra interventions, their outcomes were traditionally quite low. So back in 2005, our four-year graduation rate, this is a freshman in the college graduating in the college, was only 22%, so about a little over 1 in 5 being successful. And the 6-year rate was about 1 in 3. Really dismal statistics. We're now at much better numbers, so the 4-year rate is between 35 and 40% the last few years, and the 6-year rate is 50%. What I'm going to show you, though, is the outcomes of the learning communities are producing 4- and 6-year graduation rates that are 20 percentage points higher than those numbers. And for our student demographics at UCR, those are phenomenal rates of graduation. So we had some initiatives starting in 2011, some that we took upon ourselves and some that were forced on us. We were basically forced to increase our admission selectivity because our application numbers were skyrocketing. They'd gone up by 1,000 applications a year, every year for the last 7 years. So our admission rate was cut from 80 to 60% over 4 years because of that. We also developed an early program to transition students who were not successful in science, and that's mainly the students with poor math preparation, over as quickly as possible to the non-science college. And we do that in the fall quarter after testing them for math. And if they can't test out of intermediate algebra by week 7 of the fall quarter, we move them over to the non-science college. And then we went after and won 2 grants, NSF and HHMI, that allow us to scale up our learning communities. And our participation has gone from a pilot of 20% of incoming freshmen in learning communities to currently 60 to 65% in freshman learning communities. So this shows the number of students enrolled through time from 2007 cohort to the 2017 cohort. And you can see a couple of things in this figure. You can see the impact of the increased selectivity in 2011 really cut back on our enrollments. It's since ramped up every year, as I've mentioned, since our application rate keeps going up. But we're now much more selective during this time period than we were during this time period. The other thing that it shows is the number of students enrolled in the learning communities. So we ran a pilot for 6 years where the enrollment was about 20 to 30% of the incoming freshmen. And then once we won the 2 big grants, that allowed us to scale up. And we're now at over 1,200 freshmen this year enrolled. And we're now up to 60 to 65% of the enrolled freshmen in the learning communities. So there's a lot of data in the literature showing that various demographic groups respond differently to different styles of intervention. And what that means is you can't identify a single magic bullet that's going to help a very diverse population of students. And there's certainly not enough time and resources to test every possible type of intervention and its unique effect on different demographic groups of students. So my argument is more efficient and resource conservative to test a constellation of multiple interventions with the idea that the combination of those interventions is going to help a majority of the students. And this strategy has proven to work very well in our college. So our intervention constellation is constructed using a curricular or academic learning communities, and we group the students into cohorts by major, type, and math placement. So this is the constellation. We take incoming freshmen and put them into cohorts of 24 students. So they're all start out at the same math placement and the same type of major. They take their core math and science curriculum together all freshman year. And that's mainly math, chemistry, and biology for a majority of the students. And it's important they go to the same lecture, the same discussion, and the same lab. And what this forces them to do is bond, because they're spending 15 hours a week together in all of their core math and science courses. They can't help but to bond. Right? It forces that issue. We give them mandatory peer tutoring or supplemental instruction in their hardest course every quarter. That's 2 hours a week. That gives them a near-peer role model, a junior or senior. Many of the previous talks have talked about SI, for example. We put them in a 1-hour faculty discovery seminar in the fall. Faculty love to talk about the why of doing science. We give them a 1-hour academic advising discussion section in the fall. That's the discussion section to the faculty seminar. And the academic advisors talk about the how of college survival. And they make heavy use of peer mentors. We pay our peer mentors $15 an hour. And then finally, we give them an optional cure that they can do either in life science, it's a genetics course that Sue Wessler's developed, or if they're in physical and mathematical sciences, they typically take a molecular science cure. And about half of our students, a little over half, select that option. So the peer tutoring or supplemental instruction, they are trained by senior peer mentors and the learning community coordinators. So that's where they get their training. They're a junior, senior major with a 3.0 minimum GPA. They have to be approved by the faculty instructor. They're a great near-peer role model. They go to lecture with the cohort, so they really get to know the cohort. In addition, they spend 2 hours a week together with them, and they talk about all sorts of things. And they try not to spend all their time talking. They actually try and engage the students, and they're trained to do that. And we all know about the bidirectional benefit to peer mentoring. The fall faculty discovery seminar is 1 unit. The purpose is they need to learn that UC faculty are human and that we're quite different from their high school instructors. So our main concern is research and not teaching. And they need to understand that about us because they're coming out of a system where they're not used to that. On average, faculty participate once every 3 to 4 years. So the chairs would give me a list every year. And some faculty who really like it volunteer more often. The dean and her 4 divisional deans, of which I was one, also teach these. So we set the cultural expectation for the faculty. And we provide a lot of guidance to faculty in how to structure their discovery seminar. So we have a discovery-based approach that we encourage. We do not mandate what they do in this class. It gives them complete academic freedom, but we give them lots of examples in past syllabi, and we encourage them to bring in external speakers. The fall academic seminar is 1 unit. And the students need to learn to trust their academic advisor. That makes them more willing to go to them later if they get into trouble. Our college has centralized mandatory advising by major from matriculation to graduation. They all have master's degrees in science, counseling, education, or psychology. They promote developmental rather than prescriptive academic advising, so they focus on things like study skills, self-assessment, curriculum planning, time management. They even cover how to manage it, how to balance a checkbook. So they're assigned as the TA to work directly with the faculty instructor for the discovery seminar. Each advisor covers 2 to 3 of the cohorts each fall. They use peer mentors in the academic advising seminar, and the text they use is Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective College Students. Course-based first-year team research engagement is mainly Bio 20. That's the most popular. We're 75% life science majors, so of course they select it. That's a DNA extraction and gene sequencing cure developed by Sue Wessler, who's here in the back. Those who are in math or physical sciences take explorations in molecular science. They can do computer modeling of chemical bonds, or they can do field sampling of atmospheric gases. That tends to appeal more to the physical and mathematical and statistics majors. But both of these are these hands-on active learning laboratory research engagements, 24 students that they conduct alongside of their major big lecture courses in biology and chemistry. So Sue and I call this giving them a chance to see the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. They're more likely to grind it out in their high enrollment, lower division intro courses if they can see the fun they will get ultimately doing undergraduate research and then graduate research. And we all know this is critical. Understanding research is critical for first-gen students. They need to learn that science goes beyond coursework. So the logistics of assembling the learning communities is rather complicated. We have to create the course seat clusters of 24 in spring quarter for the next fall. We don't yet know our enrollments. We don't know how many are in each major, and we don't know their math placements, so we have to guess. It's a crapshoot every year, and we get it about 85% right. Then the matriculating freshmen and their families attend 2-day summer orientations in July and August. We do a big sales spiel, and students apply to learning communities, so it's opt-in. We don't force them out. So we emphasize they're going to get an instant peer group as a new science student. They'll get reserve seating in core courses all freshman year. It's going to improve their GPA and graduation rate. I'll show you the data. And they're going to get an opportunity to do early team research. That's probably the most appealing part. I use heavy promotion by near-peer testimonials at orientation to sell it. But it's a random controlled group lottery selection process. So we purposely limit the number of seats available at each orientation sections to force a control group that wanted to be in the learning communities, but we can't accommodate them. And that's our control group. And the parents get really mad when we can't accommodate their students. Really mad. They even call the chancellor. So eligibility for the learning communities is restricted to students that place into either pre-calculus or calculus. We test them for their math ability after they've been admitted. We do not do holistic or comprehensive review. We admit based on a weighted average of high school GPA and total SAT. And students who do not place into pre-calculus or calculus are those who place into intermediate algebra. They have less than a 10% survival rate in our majors, and those are the students we focus on transitioning out. If we could do holistic or comprehensive review and admit by math placement, we wouldn't have to deal with that population of students, but we're not there yet. So I'm going to show you the results of kind of an intent to treat clinical drug trial analysis of our learning communities, where we've got the eligible treated group that enrolled in, or were able to enroll in the learning communities, and then the placebo group, which wanted to, but we couldn't accommodate them. So the immediate outcome is their first quarter GPA. And you can see the increased selectivity in 2011 created a bump in the GPA. But the control group, the line in blue, also bumped, all right? So this difference is still valid across this change in selectivity. And the upper curve is the students who completed the learning communities. The blue curve is the wait list control group, and the yellow curve are the students who weren't interested at all, the non-participants. And the intermediate outcome is retention into the second year. Interestingly, selectivity had no effect on this, but the learning community students are retaining into the second year at about 95% pretty consistently. All right, the slide is very busy, so let me explain it to you. This is the ultimate outcome. This is the graduation rates. So graduation rate versus cohort years, so 07, 08, 09, and so on. There's 3 columns for each cohort year. The first column is the 4-year graduation rate and the 6-year graduation rate for the students who completed the learning communities. The middle column is the 4-year graduation rate and the 6-year graduation rate for the control group. And the third column is those 2 rates for the non-participants. Okay. And you can see we are impinging upon about a 70% 6-year graduation rate and about a 60% graduation rate at 4 years for the learning community students. That's in comparison to that table I showed you earlier where the 4 and 6-year graduation rates over the last few years are indicated here. So there's about a 20 percentage point difference for the students in the learning communities. There's a lot of satisfaction with the learning communities based on surveys, in the sense that 80% of them feel CNAS is a very supportive community, and about the same feel that they formed bonds outside of that went beyond the classroom, and their collaboration satisfaction of working with other students is very high. So we're currently preparing this for publication, and we're breaking it down by demographics. And I hope to convince you that the results show that the bump in grad rates applies across the demographic board. And I think that validates this constellation approach to designing first-year curricular learning communities for a very diverse student population. So here's the same chart for and 6-year graduation rates for Hispanic students. We just ran this, and there's a glitch. It's not reading the fall of 7 cohort, and my statistician is working on that. But you see the same bump for Hispanic students. This is for female students. Again, same pattern. This is for first-gen students. Again, same pattern. And this is for low socioeconomic status or low-income students. Again, the same bump from being in learning communities. We talk about ethnic gaps in graduation rates, and I was having a conversation with John and Carl somewhere, but it may be that those are really reflecting math preparation gaps more than ethnic gaps, and I think that's deserving of more research. Let me tell you some lessons learned about getting buy-in from various campus stakeholders. That's always going to be a challenge for something of this scale. We're now at 1,200 freshmen enrolled every year and about 600 doing the cure. Getting the academic advisors to buy in was really easy. I incorporated it as a formal part of their job description. They get to work with a variety of faculty as their TA. They view it as a really good developmental advising opportunity with a captive audience. It's an opportunity to build student trust early and help them avoid behavior that creates problems later. It gets them out of their advising office and into the classroom, so it's a lot of fun for them, and they can use it as a resume and advancement enhancer. Faculty buy-in, that's always the big challenge. A lot of you have talked about this already. this morning to any kind of change. I now need 55 faculty every year. I just basically had to stay in their face and repeatedly show them their retention and grad rates. And they say, yeah, but you're not convincing me that my faculty seminar is helping these freshmen. And I said, well, I think it's helping in the long run. You know, they're less intimidated by you. It's probably easier for them to go to you for a research opportunity later because they've learned how you think and what's important to you. The dean messaged that she would look at participation in this seminar as part of the college mission and student mentoring, and she sets the example by teaching it too, as do the other divisional deans. The chairs like it because they only have to persuade faculty to do it about once every 3 to 4 years, so it has a minimal impact on departmental teaching load. They get instructional credit. The big debate is whether a department wants to count these units for the freshman seminar, the 2 units, which the faculty member gets credit for, as part of their load, teaching load for merit promotion. And that's a big debate. That surprised me. There's a lot of disagreement in different departments on doing that. And I incentivize the faculty by prioritizing the students that we award research scholarships to once they complete the learning communities. I prioritize those towards faculty who have taught the learning community seminar. So there's a bit of an incentive for the faculty to do this. But it is a problem. It's the biggest problem. Buy-in by the campus administration was relatively easy, funding and fame, right? So we won the 2 big expansion grants. Those outcomes I showed to the alumni that prompted more donations for undergraduate research scholarships as follow-ups to completing the learning communities. The main reason UCR became a founding member of the University Innovation Alliance was because of our CNAS Learning Community Program and our SI, our campus-wide SI program. That's why we were asked to join. The White House Initiative on Education and Excellence for Hispanics recognized our CNAS learning communities. I should point out, what was the Obama White House, not the Trump White House? We won the 2016 APLU Degree Completion Award for improving 4-year campus graduation rates. And then the Education Trust cited UCR as the #2 institution in a nationwide group of 4 years that have no ethnic gaps in their campus graduation rates. We still have gaps in the STEM colleges, but we're so successful at moving students who are not successful in STEM into the non-science college that our campus rate shows no gaps in graduation rates. And I think a transition advising program is critical. And I think we need to look at math preparation and admissions is really a big issue for the STEM colleges. Right now, the biggest sustainability challenge is our new campus cost recovery budget model. So some of you who are administrators will tremble at that model. So we need to tweak it so increased student performance metrics generate tuition revenue to the colleges that are showing increased performance. And I will conclude by thanking NSF, HHMI, and my partner in crime, Sue Wessler, for supporting this scale-up. And I did this for 9 years, and I'm now on sabbatical, and it's now up to my successor to deal with the outcomes. Thank you. Yes.
My fear is that inadvertently there's a little bit more imposter syndrome in the control group.
I wouldn't argue with that. We haven't surveyed the control group because it's a small group and the response rate we would get would probably not be statistically significant. We have enough trouble getting a high response rate from the participant group, and that's a common problem. So yeah, but we haven't addressed that specific issue of imposter syndrome. But I wouldn't be surprised if you're right. Yes.
Do you imagine being able to make this learning community available to all students? Or do you think it'll always be a optional program?
So the non-science college, I will tell you, their learning community was having groups of 75 students take the same thematic class every quarter. So they might take a theater class in the fall and a history class in the winter and an economics class in the spring. They saw no difference in outcomes because it was such a narrowly defined single intervention. Yeah. But it's expensive, and it works well where you have a research promotional environment in the college, and that's not something you can easily adapt to.
Across the college, or across the entire university, I'm saying in this program, right, so the students that aren't invited, right, so you have a wait list and then you also.
Oh, I see. So you're
I'm
asking.
saying, like, for your college, or for your department, whoever these learning communities are targeting, would you be able to get everyone that's in those departments involved in learning communities? Because it's so significant in terms of outreach.
You mean in terms of faculty buy-in?
If this was a drug study, you'd have to discontinue.
Yes, it would be unethical to continue. Yes, now I understand your question. So our goal was to get 80% participation, but that was before we had this huge explosion in enrollments and applications. So we're never going to get to 80%. About 20% of our students test into intermediate algebra, even after we became selective, right? Because we're not filtering by math preparation. So those 20% we would probably never put them in the learning community, but we do have a separate quasi-support program for them. So I could see us getting up to 80% participation if we had infinite resources. The problem is, yes, that's the tricky part, exactly. Yeah.
Maybe one more quick question, yes?
I have a question about the academic advisors. Did you hire any new people, and if so, how many candidates were hired?
So the grant allowed us to hire 2 learning community coordinators and 3 additional academic advisors so we could spread the load of this across all 20 of them without impacting their regular advising duties. Okay. All right.
Thank
Thank you.
you so much, Michael, for your discussion.